We kick this edition of AEW Dynamite with a blockbuster 6-man tag team match. The Best Friends and Orange Cassidy against Death Triangle. And it's a match that only lasts 13 minutes 57 after it descended into chaos. So there is no outright winner. But there are some really good performances across the board here, especially from Orange Cassidy getting a 67 there. Look at Pac. Look at Rey Fenix. 84 for Pac, 82 for Phoenix. So good to see. It's matches like this as well where I'm thinking maybe I should introduce some sort of trios title for AEW in the future. We'll just have to wait and see. But this match getting the crowd buzzing, starting off strong. As we know, tensions have risen quite quickly over the last week or so between Pac and Orange Cassidy. Pac bumping into him backstage. Yeah, I was expecting that we was going to get penalised for the type of finish. I do hate doing it, but I feel as though it advances the storyline quite nicely between Pac and Orange Cassidy. And it also brings in the best of friends who have been wanting to be on Dynamite for quite some time now. But as I was saying, tensions have risen quite quickly between Orange Cassidy and Pac. Pac bumping into him backstage after it looked like Cassidy was sleeping. Pac makes a comment and Cassidy shoots to his feet, confronts him. But anyway, after the match, Death Triangle attack the Best Friends. After the match, Pac goes straight for Orange Cassidy as Pentagon Jr. and Rey Fenix fight off Chuck Taylor and Trent Beretta. It's a 3-on-1 assault in the ring and Orange Cassidy is being brutally beat down by Death Triangle. Pac is heard screaming at Cassidy, "You want to make a fool out of me, huh? You think it's funny? I'll show you funny." Pentagon collects a steel chair from the outside, hands it to Pac. Penta and Rey hold Cassidy up and Pac nails him over the head with the chair, busting Cassidy wide open. It's nasty. Blood pouring down his head and Pac grabs his TNT title and holds it next to Orange, taunting him. Death Triangle, leave. So what is to come now? Surely there will be some sort of retaliation from the Best Friends. And of course, Orange Cassidy, who seems to have changed his mindset as of late, as we saw with that confrontation backstage last week. So this segment getting a 63, done to a hot crowd. We're off to a good start here for AEW Dynamite. And then we switch to the commentary desk where we see JR, Excalibur and Schiavone. And JR goes on to say, "Ladies and gentlemen, we are live and on the air for this week's episode of AEW Dynamite, and what a show we have for you this evening." Last week, Villain Enterprises expanded again with the Good Brothers, Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson. Cody took to social media claiming that AEW have been threatened and now it's time to react, purge and restart. I wonder how this will play out. Thankfully, it was confirmed no serious injury was inflicted upon Santana Ortiz and Sammy Guevara of the Inner Circle last week after Brody Lee ran them over with his SUV. It's hard times at the moment for the Inner Circle. They have the Dark Order breathing down their neck, as well as Darby Allin, who is picking his moments. Also, the Brandy Rhodes Women's Division Initiative continues here tonight, who will be joining Dr. Britt Baker and Toni Storm for the AEW Women's Championship match in the UK on the final episode of Dynamite this year. So tonight we're going to see Hangman Adam Page in singles action against Jungle Express's MARKO STUNT. We'll also see more from Brandy Rhodes' Women's Division Initiative. That continues. And also EC3 in his first match in AEW as he takes on Joey Janela. And we'll also see Matt Hardy against Lance Archer. The challenge was put down last week, and here we are. And also, up next, Villain Enterprises have an announcement. Villain Enterprises, Mike Skull, Brody King, Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson stand united in front of a VE flag. And Skull goes on to say, "Tonight, Villain Enterprises takes over. The Elite will be no more. Brody here will team with Gallows and Anderson as they take on Cody and the Young Bucks. Tonight after we win, we vow to tear them apart and cause destruction like you've never seen before. We'll remind them who they are and where they came from. We'll put them back in line where they belong. So that ends the quick promo from Villain Enterprises. Does advance the storyline. Brody King worked the crowd well, the angle getting the crowd hotter. We've already had quite the hot start to this episode of Dynamite with that 6-man tag. And Carl Anderson improvising well, that's good to note. Nothing on Luke Gallows though. I know they made their debut last week, but it seems as though the crowds weren't too happy seeing Luke Gallows. We'll just have to see where that goes. So anyway, per Villain Enterprises announcement, tonight's main event will see the Elites take on Brody King, Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson as we roll into our next segment. Ali makes her way to the ring, ready to compete in hopes of making the AEW Women's Championship match, which will take place over in the UK. We see Brandy backstage, watching a monitor. Ali doesn't know who she is facing though. She waits in the ring. After a minute or so, country music plays as Mickie James bursts out of the entranceway to a huge pop from the crowd. Mickie James is all elite. So we're expanding on our women's division yet again. The last time we did it, we brought in Toni Storm. Look where she is now. She's our AEW Women's Champion. Now Mickie James is here. Quite the veteran, if you will. Quite a legend in women's wrestling. What she was able to accomplish over in that other company. And how she's been successful everywhere she's been. You can see as well, segment rating really good for the women's division. And Brandy Rhodes' women's division initiative. And that match between Mickie James and Ali lasts 10 minutes 34. And it's Mickie James that overcomes Ali with a fast roll-up. So Ali comes out of this one still looking kind of strong. Hated doing it, seeing that, we should really be focusing more on our own talent that AEW have brought in, but having someone like Mickie James lose to Ali on her debut, it just didn't sit right with me. So I felt we needed to add Mickie James to that fatal four-way, which will take place over in the UK. Now, this match was set to work the crowd when I really should have put it at calm the crowd instead, and it's been put down to poor crowd management. But we did get a 50 rating. I think every match that we've put Ali in so far, it's only been a few, it's always ended with a 50 segment rating, so that's not bad. But anyway, rolling into the next segment, Chris Jericho and Jeff Cobb are seen walking backstage along with a handful of police officers. Jericho's saying, "That son of a bitch, Brody, should be around here somewhere. You've seen the evidence. I just hope you lock him up for a long time. He can't get away with running down half the inner circle." The police officers just look ready to make an arrest. They don't seem to be listening to Jericho and his ramblings. Jericho then says to Cobb and the officers, "Listen, it's probably best if we split up. We'll find that asshole quicker if we do." Cobb agrees and so do the officers. Well folks, it looks like Brody Lee, if he is here tonight, could very well end up being behind bars before the night comes to a close. Now Jeff Cobb did not do well without a script to follow. I think I set this to about 4 or 5 minutes, although it probably should have been a bit less, so that went against Cobb, I think. But we still got a pretty decent segment rating out of that with a 60, and that will do as Chris Jericho came out of it looking good. And of course, it's advanced to this storyline with the Inner Circle and the Dark Order and Darby Allin sandwiched in between. The next match of the evening saw Hangman Adam Page in singles action against MARKO Stunt. Of course, it's Adam Page that goes over. It's quite a squash match as well. Although I think I did set it to an open match for this. I wanted MARKO Stunt to get in a bit of offense in this one against Page. Let's see what he could come up with. And unfortunately, MARKO Stunt was off his game for this. Yeah, you can see the match was set to open. But you can see also Cash, Dax, Tully, Luchasaurus and Jungle Boy, they are all at ringside for this. Gets a segment rating of 65, so it's a decent match as it says. And MARKO Stunt, still very young, still has a lot of potential. As I've said before quite a few times, I could see MARKO Stunt as being like the Rey Mysterio of AEW, the biggest little guy on the roster, Whether I decide to actually go all the way and put the AEW title on him, no, I don't think so. But anyway, after the match, Page, Wheeler, Harwood and Tully are stood together in the ring, standing over a hurting MARKO stunt. Luchasaurus attends to him as Jungle Boy squares up to the 3. More specifically, Hangman. Hangman shoves him away, pushing and shoving in shoes as Luchasaurus then gets involved. Tully tries to hold the 3 back. Jungle Boy can be heard saying to Hangman, "Face me, next week." Hangman smirks and then cheap shots Jungle Boy, leaving the ring with FTR and Tully in tow. Next week then, big match made. Hangman Page versus Jungle Boy. Should be quite something special actually. Hangman Page and Jungle Boy, I hope it is anyway. I mean, Kenny Omega and Jungle Boy were able to put on quite a decent match on Dark quite a few weeks back. I think it was right at the start of this series. Apart from Luchasaurus, everyone else did really well. Going up, being able to have that freedom to go off script. MARKO Stunt also improvised well throughout the segment, as you would expect, as we only get a 53 for this one, and I'm not too worried about that, but I am worried about this one, a 39 segment rating with Marvez and Taz. Marvez goes on to say, "With me at this time, the human suplex machine, Taz. Last week we saw the formation of Team Taz with Brian Cage, Ricky Starks and EC3. Can you tell me what your plans are going forward?" That is private information, Alex, but I will say this. Team Taz is a great mix of talent. You have the machine, Brian Cage, who is currently unbeaten. The absolute Ricky Starks, who's still young, still has plenty of potential. And then EC3. He controls his narrative now. No more bowing to old men that sit in ivory towers. The chains are off for EC3 and Team Taz. I told him, just like I told Cage, work alongside me, forget MJF and we'll dominate. We'll make lots of money. More than he was getting from MJF anyway. End of the day, there is nothing more that drives men than the promise of money. He's willing to put in the work, as you'll see tonight. Taz walks away from Alex Marvez, so we get just a 39 for that. I think it was probably Marvez that let the side down for this segment, because we all know Taz is quite the worker on the microphone, isn't he? Maybe it was because I set Marvez to microphone and Taz to entertainment. Maybe that's what let it down. But anyway, up next was the big one, Matt Hardy against Lance Archer. And in a decent match, it's Archer that goes over Hardy after a stoppage, just under 10 minutes. It's a stoppage when Matt Hardy was injured and could not continue. We get a 58 for this match. Matt Hardy with a 50 performance, 53 for Lance Archer. It's advancing the storyline, and I just love seeing that. The main thing to take away from this match, for me anyway, is the fact that Hardy and Archer have great chemistry, and it showed in their performances, because this feud, this story, is nowhere near finished. I got plenty planned for these two. Although you can see there is a decline in physical ability between both guys. It's really good to see that they've got great chemistry. Anyway, after the match, Matt Hardy is attended to by medics. Doc Sampson is there as both Lance Archer and Jake Roberts watch on. Lance Archer has seen enough and shoves Doc Sampson out of the way, and the other medics as he goes straight for Matt Hardy. He slings him outside of the ring, tears up the mats to expose the concrete, and proceeds to slam the back of his head into the concrete over and over. Jake watches on laughing. Matt Hardy is out cold. Lance Archer has gotten full psycho, full Murderhawk monster. DDP rushes out to the ring and confronts Jake. He tries to get Jake to stop this. Jake pushes DDP away, which is so out of character for Jake. After all DDP has done for him, he exits the ring and joins Archer. They both leave through the crowd as more medics arrive on the scene. So again, there's that dynamic between DDP and Jake the Snake. That story being told there. We have seen this confrontation a few times throughout this series. And there have been times where I've thought, where am I taking this? But I think I have an idea now, and I hope it pays off. Up next, Chris Jericho is seen on his own, still searching for Brody Lee. Keeping in mind, they all split up to search for Brody Lee. He passes some scaffolding, which Darby Allin can be seen on top of. Darby jumps down, startling Jericho. Jericho starts backing away, slowly saying, "Who do you think you are, huh, Darby? I made you." Darby slowly following Jericho, saying, "You didn't make me, Chris. If anything, you made me better, smarter. I know now when to pick my moments. Throw me out of a window, I don't care. Beat me with my own skateboard, I don't care. I will always keep getting back up. I am relentless." And look where all that's got you. Look at your inner circle. Where are they now? Jericho says, "You son of a bitch, Darby. You want a match, is that it?" And Darby replies, "I don't just want a match, Chris. I want to end your career." Darby picks up his skateboard. Jericho flinches slightly. Bit of a weakness being shown there, maybe, as Darby smirks and then says, "Think about it." Then Darby skates off. Segment rating is fantastic. It gets a 73 between Jericho and Darby Allin. It's not over between these two. We all know what went down at Halloween Havoc and before Halloween Havoc in the build-up towards that pay-per-view, I suppose, between Jericho and Darby Allin, the Inner Circle also. Now we could be looking at the end of the feuds, whether that ends in the UK, whether it ends Revolution. We'll have to wait and see. Up next in a decent match, EC3, of course, his first match here in AEW, goes over Joey Janela in at 8:48 with a sweet meat sizzler after a distraction from Taz. I desperately need to change the name of that finisher. And it's not a bad match. Gets a 62. It was done to a hot crowd. Obviously, having Taz there at ringside, he did some good work. The announcing was good also, as well as the colour commentary. As you can see, EC3, it was set to a wild brawl, and Joey Janela was always going to get distracted by Taz. And up next, after the match, Jon Moxley slides into the ring and attacks EC3. Remember what happened last week? They brawl. Taz is irate as he watches on from the outside. Joey Janela gives Mox a helping hand. Janela getting involved here. Ricky Starks and Brian Cage come out of nowhere. Starks takes down Janela and Cage goes for Mox. The numbers game beginning to catch up with the AEW World Champion. Then at the top of the entranceway, MJF is seen with Wardlow at his side. MJF is shouting at Wardlow to go take control. Wardlow about to be unleashed. He steps into the ring. Mox is in the corner hurting. EC3 and Cage take a step back. Taz is now in the ring, talking to Wardlow. They all look at MJF. Looks like Taz has made Wardlow an offer. Then Wardlow spins and attacks Cage and EC3, but it's 2-on-1. He gave it his best shot. Team Taz stand tall. MJF is bewildered. He's beside himself. He walks off shaking his head. Mox is down. Wardlow is down, and so is Janela. Team Taz look like the real deal. I know what you guys are thinking. What a crazy mix of wrestlers. You got Janela in there, Wardlow, bit of absolute Ricky Starks, Brian Cage. Hopefully it all comes together nicely with what I'm trying to tell here for the AEW title. Up next, Cody and the Young Bucks are seen in gorilla position, ready to make their entrance when Marty Scurll confronts them. He points his speech towards Cody. It doesn't matter what you do, Cody. You can't stop what's about to happen to the Elite and to the future of AEW. Good luck. Marty walks off with umbrella in hand. Cody then looks at the Young Bucks, nodding their heads. They each shake hands as their music begins to play. So we get a 73 segment rating for this. The showdown between Cody and Marty. No fisticuffs, no physicality or anything, as all these guys were in gorilla position, ready for the main event of the evening between the Elite and Villain Enterprises. Wonder how it goes down, but Cody, Marty looking good in this segment, as Marty is getting better at his gimmick. Well, how does the main event go? It's an 80. It's a big one, kind of expected that. It's about that had great heat, good wrestling, and it's the villain enterprises of Brody King, Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson that overcome the Elite. And it was Carl Anderson pinning Matt Jackson with an Anderson spinebuster. So some fantastic performances across the board, but Luke Gallows, the underperformer with the 53, and Carl Anderson not far behind actually. And again, a pretty vocal crowd. Didn't seem particularly thrilled to be seeing Luke Gallows, but everything else looked pretty decent. Gallows is getting better at his gimmick, so I suppose that's going for him. But Matt and Nick, fantastic. So were Cody. The Elite, just brilliant. And I was kind of expecting towards an 80, and we've smashed that. So that's really good to see as we roll into our final segment of the evening. One I've been looking forward to putting out for you guys. Everything descends into chaos, just like it did at the start of the show. One huge brawl. The Elite, Cody, Nick and Matt are outnumbered. It's 4v3. Villain Enterprises then take control. Marty Scurll has a steel chair and starts taking out each member. Scurll, Brody King, Luke Gallows, Carl Anderson stand over the fallen bodies of their former friends, the Elite. And then Kenny Omega's music hits, and he walks out slowly at the top of the entranceway. He seems somber. Last time we saw him, he got turned on by Hangman at Full Gear. He is all serious. He then switches on, and then races to the ring. He clears house. Marty, Brody, Luke managing to escape, but Carl Anderson didn't. They watch on from the outside. They can't believe it. Kenny then points at Carl and says, "Goodbye and good night." Hits a V-trigger on Anderson, then a one-winged angel. He tosses him to the outside as the Elite gather round and look united to end this week's episode of AEW Dynamite. We get an 82 for this as Kenny Omega is back. We haven't seen him since Full Gear. It's been 2 weeks. And he is here, united with his Elite buddies of Cody and Nick and Matt Jackson, the Young Bucks. What does this mean then? With Kenny Omega back, surely at some point he's going to turn his attention to his former tag team partner Hangman Adam Page. You guys are just going to have to stay tuned to find out what happens. But that is it for this episode. Let's have a look, see how we've done. We've got a 76. I was expecting a lot lower than that because some of the matches were only getting... Well, we started off strong with a 75. Then the women's match got 50. Matt Hardy and Lance Archer getting a 58. There wasn't many matches that were up into the 70s. So I was expecting a lot lower than that. So kind of surprised. 76, I'm really happy with that, to be honest. Although, again... Don't want to seem as I'm being biased, but I think that was a decent show. You guys, again, just going to have to let me know what you think in the comments below. So this week, we drew a 2.38 TV rating with a total of 1.7 million viewers. Over on TNT itself, it was a 1.58 with just 1.1 million, almost 1.2 million tuning in. Let's have a look then at how NXT have done this week. So once again, the same show rating as AEW, but NXT do beat us in viewership again this week with a 2.42 TV rating. They had a total of 1.8 million viewers, almost 1.9 mil if you want to round it up. So there we have it. That is it for this edition of AEW Dynamite. I hope you guys have enjoyed it, and I will see you all very soon for the next one. Thanks for watching.